Hello world! Curses of madness be upon you all for live fighters. The Apex Legends Twitter account just released this gorgeous new image, drawn by the fantastic gel art. And while it contains a ton of tiny little lore drops, there are a few more important ones that I want to focus on. Now we obviously get things like Wattson's experience with Children of the Outlands and all the fan art, how much she is evidently loved by the people. We have her cat, who seems to be called Nikola, image of her dad, a test of what I assume is her interception pylon, somebody telling her to look after herself, and Nessie, her with Wraith. She's got her own sort of curved knife thing here, apparently. This is also made by Quieto, the people who made Wraith's kunai. We have the Flyer Lyres up over here with returning lyre Aja Shea, which apparently that's where her drumming experience came from. We also have some sketches of what could be the Danny Boy, or her own kind of drone similar to Doc. Maybe it's like an experiment in that way. A little crypto note here. The science of effective communication makes a lot of sense for Wattson. The active denial system is what I assume her interception pylon is about. This actually could be more in reference to the ring, which actually then could tie into this, and these new names for the ring that she's been coming up with. It seems this letter over here is potentially from the Syndicate, sort of apologizing that they're not going to call it anything but the ring. But being the Syndicate, I don't really see them actually apologizing, truthfully. We've obviously got Witt's Bamboozles cereal over here. The active denial system could be referencing back to this. It could be her pylons, as we see that she's been experimenting and testing them as she goes. She's also evidently been reading up on the Fringe world, so about the history of the Outlands, and as standard has a bit of an interest in quantum physics. Which, there's also this receipt from an unknown party here. But going back to this, there are a few letters dotted around that are actually far more important than this one over here. This seems to just be a little sort of joke at the expense of the dumb name of the ring, really. And there are 3 of some actual sort of quite significant importance. This one over here seems to be written by Mary Summers. Horizon. Speaking about object density falling into something in the known universe, therefore we hypothesize that matter arrested within the ergosphere represents a powerful potential energy source for the Outlands worlds. We further hypothesize that it could be utilized with greater efficiency than existing commercial energy sources. Research ongoing, expect to provide the committee with yada yada. This would appear to be talking about Branthium as far as concerned. So this is some of Mary Summers' early research into Branthium. We also have this one here, which I'm going to have to spin around somehow. The Office of Jacob Young, Director Public Relations. Subject, Salvo, to join coalition of Syndicate planets. So this seems to be something concerning the Syndicate. Jacob Young, if I remember, is something like the PR director of the Apex Games. So having a look into this, I'm writing to inform you that Salvo, which rejected the Mercenary Syndicate's position to join Syndicate Space in 27-22, is now being guided by new leadership sympathetic to the cause of peace within the Outlands. Talks with this new administration were prolonged but ultimately fruitful. As of today, the Mercenary Syndicate Treaty has been amended and Salvo will become the 7th world to join Syndicate Space. So that's our sort of biggest lore reveal here, in part that the Syndicate controls at least 7 worlds in the Outlands. Then we get into this one, which is more about sort of how the Syndicate work. Salvo brings with it something of armaments, so there's some sort of military presence as we go. Uncertain times, never. In the conditions of the Office of Public Relations, we'll be rolling out a social something to dispel inaccuracies about, nobody knows, to create an appropriate something for their integration into Syndicate Space, including exciting new developments within the Apex games. So, dispelling inaccuracies? That sounds like some rather authoritarian manner of ruling, if you ask me, which, hey, not to be surprised for the Mercenary Syndicate, At this time, do not communicate with the something representing this matter. Expect further instructions from our office. Something. So, this piece here, obviously, as I said, tells us that the Syndicate controls 7 worlds, and with the kind of language they use, a social something to dispel inaccuracies about what's probably not that inaccurate at all, gives you kind of an idea of how the Syndicate work. But that's not the most important one. Let's not stay on the upside down version of the image, because we want to get to what I feel is the biggest actual story reveal in this image. This letter here. Hey little sis, Gibraltar here. Hope the sun's starting to shine for you again. Oh, one day, Gibraltar man. I know you didn't want to hear anything about Caustic before, and I respect that. You don't have to read this letter now, or ever. Read it tomorrow. Read it next year. Throw it in the trash and never read it at all. But I think you have a right to know the truth. I bet it would mean a lot to crypto if you did. But right now what matters most is what you want and how you feel. Gibby is a man after my own heart, man. I think you deserve to know. But no matter what, it's okay. Gibraltar still loves you. That man is a shining ray of positivity. Caustic told me the truth. He betrayed Loba. He didn't like what she was doing. I can't say she went about it the right way, the best way, but putting her in Revenant's path was wrong. He hurt a lot of people in the process, like you. You deserve an apology, but that's not Gibraltar's to give. Picking Crypto to take the fall wasn't an accident. I don't know what's going on in Caustic's head, but he has it out for the kid. Now, I'll be honest, I think it has something to do with you. But it's not your fault, little sis. You let them sort it out. You just do you. And you decide who gets to be there while you do it. That's all Gibraltar's got. If you need to talk, let me know. Always here with an ear and a big bear hug. Yours truly, Makoa. So, as evidenced by our girl Neverly needing a rest, never mind because of all this, Wattson now knows the state of things. This proves that she's read the letter as far as concerned. So going forward into Season 7, we have a few more little extras to be playing with, in that at least Wattson now understands the situation of the broken ghost. So she can start to make her own judgments about it and change her attitudes towards the characters involved. And if you thought that was enough, we've gotten more. They also released on Instagram a panorama of what appears to be the new Olympus map, along with almost like a tourism poster for Olympus itself. But based on a few of the loading screens, namely Seasonal Special, Pathfinder's loading screen set on the Tenmei restaurant, Exhibit C, and Just Business, these 3 loading screens talk about the restaurant and claim that it's on Olympus. Through different sort of means and choices of words, it's very implicative that the restaurant is on Olympus. Which means that this little flying thing that we see in the sky isn't the whole of Olympus, it is like a district or a part of Olympus, as I've sort of been hypothesizing so far. And then especially if you look at the loading screen from Loba, Stalking Prey, you'll see that this shape is literally this further distant part of Olympus. So, this leads me to believe that the experiment that evidently went wrong after Ash took the Branthium from the black hole, she evidently went back to Olympus, and they tried to create something using the Branthium that evidently went wrong, but Olympus's composition, its physical makeup, evidently allowed them to jettison this specific part of Olympus. And this specific part has now been able to go to other planets, and is potentially the actual arena that we will be using for the Apex games going forward. Which is kind of interesting because it then leaves the rest of Olympus open to further exploration and allows it to have its own impact, because as we see at the end of Promise, that area of Olympus doesn't really seem to have anyone living in it anymore, which makes sense given the temporal anomaly. That also then makes sense for how they were able to host the games on Olympus in the first place, because they're not actually going to be making an arena in the living space, the actual built-up areas of Olympus. They're using this jettisoned, old, broken down area to host the games. I've also called these sort of balloon things previously balloons, but with everything going on, especially involving Branthium, I imagine that these are sort of Branthium-based flotation devices, just as, again, a tiny little piece of how the world works. However, this could imply, as given her research into Branthium that we saw earlier in the lore drop image, that Horizon herself is possibly instrumental in having created Olympus in the first place. Just something else to think about. So, Season 7 is shaping up to really kick things into gear, and they've been dropping lore on us left, right and centre as we approach it. I hope you enjoyed just me outlining these things here. I don't think I've really made any grand discoveries here, but it's just some nice little elements to keep us ticking forward, especially Gibraltar's letter to Wattson, along with sort of giving us some more general background knowledge of the Outlands themselves, and how the general populace views the world. So, I hope you enjoyed all these thoughts here. That's it from me until tomorrow when we get the new gameplay trailer, but for now I think we should all take a hint from Wattson and rest up. If there's anything I missed, feel free to chuck it down in the comments below. Please do all the YouTube things, standard YouTube stuff. It would really mean a lot. It would keep me sort of growing so I can keep doing this for everyone. Thank you for staying with me. I've been Euclidean Vision, the emotional support. Take care of yourselves out there, teammates, and may the glorious light of our shiny, shiny best girl shine within you. Bye-bye.
See you real soon, darlings.